I would like to introduce you to our dyslexia specialists, Miss Naomi Melendez and Miss Angel McShane. Ladies, take it away.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you. We're so excited to have y'all bring this presentation to our scholars and parents.
Thank you. Okay, this is going to be a presentation on dyslexia. And dyslexia is a very real thing. And these are little blurbs on what dyslexia is. It says, I'm not lazy. Having dyslexia means I have to work hard and never quit. All dyslexics have a strength. Take the time to find out what it is. Dyslexics have average or above average IQs. It might take me a long time to get it, but when I get it, it sticks. Sometimes I just need to work in a way that differs from the others in class to get the job done. I try my best, but do get frustrated. I need you to be patient with me. When you break things down into smaller steps, it is really helpful. And time is the best gift you can give a person with dyslexia.
All right. So we're going to show you a short 4-minute video about dyslexia.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire...
Okay, here you
Uh-oh.
How was that? Frustrating? Slow? What were those sentences about? They're actually a simulation of the experience of dyslexia, designed to make you decode each word. Those with dyslexia experience that laborious pace every time they read. When most people think of dyslexia, they think of seeing letters and words backwards, like seeing B as D and vice versa. Or they might think people with dyslexia see saw as was. The truth is, people with dyslexia see things the same way as everyone else. Dyslexia is caused by a phonological processing problem, meaning people affected by it have trouble not with seeing language, but with manipulating it. For example, if you heard the word cat and then someone asked you, remove the C, what word would you have left? Cat. This can be difficult for those with dyslexia. Given a word in isolation like fantastic, students with dyslexia need to break the word into parts to read it. Fantastic. Time spent decoding makes it hard to keep up with peers and gain sufficient comprehension. Spelling words phonetically like S-T-I-K for stick and F-R-E-N-S for friends is also common. These difficulties are more widespread and varied than commonly imagined. Dyslexia affects up to 1 in 5 people. It occurs on a continuum. One person might have mild dyslexia, while the next person has a profound case of it. Dyslexia also runs in families. It's common to see one family member who has trouble spelling, while another family member has severe difficulty decoding even one-syllable words like catch. The continuum and distribution of dyslexia suggest a broader principle to bear in mind as we look at how the brains of those with dyslexia process language. Neurodiversity is the idea that because all our brains show differences in structure and function, we shouldn't be so quick to label every deviation from the norm as a pathological disorder, or dismiss people living with these variations as defective. People with neurobiological variations like dyslexia, including such creative and inventive individuals as Picasso, Muhammad Ali, Whoopi Goldberg, Steven Spielberg, and Cher, clearly have every capacity to be brilliant and successful in life. So here's the special way the brains of those with dyslexia work. The brain is divided into 2 hemispheres. The left hemisphere is generally in charge of language and ultimately reading, while the right typically handles spatial activities. fMRI studies have found that the brains of those with dyslexia rely more on the right hemisphere and frontal lobe than the brains of those without it. This means when they read a word, it takes a longer trip through their brain and can get delayed in the frontal lobe. Because of this neurobiological glitch, they read with more difficulty. But those with dyslexia can physically change their brain and improve their reading. With an intensive multisensory intervention that breaks the language down and teaches the reader to decode based on syllable types and spelling rules, the brains of those with dyslexia begin using the left hemisphere more efficiently while reading, and their reading improves. The intervention works because it locates dyslexia appropriately as a functional variation in the brain, which naturally shows all sorts of variations from one person to another. Neurodiversity emphasizes this spectrum of brain function in all humans and suggests that to better understand the perspectives of those around us, we should try to not only see the world through their eyes, but understand it through their brains.
All right. Oh, sorry. Go back to this one.
The video there post. Nope.
Did we do some?
You have to reshare.
Okay, thank you.
Go down to the bottom.
Okay, I'm just okay, here we go. Turn to the meeting. Here we go. Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
Yes, we see it.
Okay. I can't get it to go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Thank
There we go. All right. Oh, did we skip one? It's going through all of them, isn't it?
Yes, push the pause button. There you go. And then go back to the slide you need.
Sorry, everybody.
you.
Thank you for being patient with us. Okay. Defining dyslexia and breaking the myth. These are myths that dyslexia doesn't really exist. Reversals are the core feature of dyslexia. Only if you reverse letters are you dyslexic. That's not true. You'll just grow out of it. Dyslexia requires a medical diagnosis. There is a test for dyslexia, and there are 3 or 4 times more boys than girls with dyslexia. None of these are true.
What is dyslexia and how do I know if my child is dyslexic? Excuse me. Dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurological in origin. It is characterized by difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language that is often unexpected in relation to other cognitive abilities and the provision of effective classroom instruction.
Okay, underlying causes of dyslexia. Difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language. And that's in the processing of the phonological awareness, phonological memory, and rapid naming.
You might ask, what is phonological awareness? It's an appreciation of the explicit sounds, phonemes in spoken words. Tested by listening and blending words, sounds, segmenting words into sounds, and manipulating sounds.
Common signs of dyslexia in kindergarten grades through 3rd. They have difficulty learning the letter names and their corresponding sounds. They have difficulty decoding single words in isolation, like just doing sight words. They have difficulty spelling phonetically. They have difficulty with reading disfluency, meaning they read in a choppy and a very hard or labored way. They have difficulty relying on context to recognize. They have to rely on context to recognize a word. And they fail to understand that words come apart, like snowman is snow, and then man is sounded out with a n.
Okay, here are some common signs of dyslexia from 4th through high school. They could have a history of reading and spelling difficulties, avoids reading aloud, reads most materials slowly, oral reading is labored, not fluent, avoids reading for pleasure, may have an inadequate vocabulary, and has difficulty spelling. They may resort to using less complicated words in writing that are easier to spell for them.
What to do when you suspect that your child has dyslexia. Discuss your concerns with your child's teacher. In some cases, the teacher may have already contacted you and started the RTI process. You can request the dyslexia evaluation through the Campus 504 coordinator or the campus reading specialist. Work together with the school to help find the best placement options for your child. In Texas, all kindergartners and first graders are now screened for dyslexia. First graders are screened before January 31st and kinder at the EOY or end of the year.
Okay, so just to give you guys a timeline for what is a timeline for dyslexia evaluation. So stage 1 takes about 3 to 4 weeks since data gathering. So during this stage, the campus dyslexia specialist, which would be us, collects the following data. Consent for formal assessment. We do there's an RTI data, attendance records, home language survey, health records, vision and hearing, parent input form, teacher input form, classroom observations, get some writing and spelling samples, a copy of the most current report card, benchmarks and star scores, and the 504 referral or special ed referral paperwork and any previous evaluations.
Okay, so once we get that done, then we go to stage 2, which is administration of the individual assessment. During this stage, we will schedule the following: formal assessments, such as the CTOP, and it's called the GORT. It's the phonological testing and the oral reading comprehension testing. Scoring the assessments and completing the dyslexia profile report during this time.
Okay, stage 3. This takes about approximately 2 to 3 weeks. This is the eligibility determination. They'll be scheduling a 504 or an ARD meeting to discuss the results and determine placement upon completion of stages 1 and 2.
Okay, how can you, if you're a parent, you say, how can I help it from home? Basically, read with your child. Read anything and everything. I mean, from books to comics to signs, anything. Build fluency by practicing sight words. Integrate technology to help build phonics and decoding skills and make learning fun. Find all kinds of fun games online.
Okay. So outside testing and doctor's diagnosis, some parents choose to have an outside evaluation. The school may use appropriate outside evaluations as part of the overall data. However, outside evaluations or a doctor's note is not necessarily the deciding factor in placement. It is only one piece of the data, and the decision is still made by the 504 or the ARD committee.
What dyslexia program is used for dyslexia students? Responsive Ed campuses use the MTA program, Multisensory Teaching Approach, developed by Margaret Taylor Smith. This is a highly successful Orton-Gillingham-based curriculum that helps readers by teaching them decoding skills and helps with comprehension and fluency skills.
Okay, on this slide, when you're at home, you're welcome to go on. There's just some resources that you can use with your child. And when you're at home, you just click on it, it'll take you to the link.
And you can use these no matter what, whether they're dyslexic or not. These are good resources. And what accommodations are available for students with dyslexia? If they're diagnosed with it, then the 504 committee will have a plan called an IEP, Individual Education Plan, and will do appropriate classroom and testing accommodations. Keep in mind that each student is an individual and plans must be customized to their needs. So some of them are extra time and then oral testing where they can have someone read the test to them, not just the questions and answer choice.
Okay, so you might ask, who are the dyslexia specialists here at the Woodlands Academy? It is Mrs. McShane and myself, Mrs. Melendez. Our district dyslexia coordinator is Shelly Babbitt, and this is her email if y'all need to reach out, I guess. Okay. And
this just tells who I am and my credentials, and I've taught here for the past 3 years, and of course I've loved every minute. I love these kids and everybody that I work with, but I'm retiring, and then Miss Melendez is going to take over, but I'll be coming back subbing and checking on everybody and helping her any way she needs help.
And this is just a little bit about myself. I just moved here about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm certified in Texas and Virginia, or rather not Virginia anymore, but I was. And I have taught first grade and kindergarten. This is my first year here at Woodlands Classical. I look forward to working with all of you.
And this is just a quote: if they can learn the way we teach the way they learn. If they can't learn the way we teach the way they learn. Yep.
Okay.
So ladies, I know we had a question that came through that we need to address.
Yes, we had one question about if your child is standing or not paying, uncomfortable sitting and focusing all the time, is that dyslexic? And not necessarily. That just could mean that they, need a different way to move around. That has nothing to do with whether or not they have dyslexia. But if there's any other questions right now, we'd be more than happy to answer.
So parents, at this time, if you have any questions, you're free to unmute yourself and ask the specialist. Well, thank you, Mrs. Melendez and Mrs. McShane, for this very informative presentation. Parents, this was recorded and will be posted on our school website along with those resources that were shared during the presentation. It will be posted on our school website a little later today. We would just like to take this time to thank you for joining us for our dyslexia informational meeting. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.